Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, and Shinrin Yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Tuesday, November 1st, 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time, 2022. Total eclipse of the moon, November 7th and the 8th. It will be 3 a.m. on the West Coast, Pacific time, for totality. So heads up. But the big story, take a look. Extreme weather pattern emerging. A wintry west and record warm east. Look at that split. Grand solar minimum much? Keep calm. It's boom time. Let's dive into it. We have a perfect grand solar minimum pattern here. Record heat in the east. Record cold and snow in the west. I bet you this is due to the meridional flow. Oh, holy macaroni. Take a look at the setup. Watch this trough dip down here. From Arctic Canada all the way down to Mexico. Ho, ho, ho. And that's going to mean there is some snow in the forecast. All the way down the Rockies from the Cascades and British Columbia and Alberta as well. All the way down into southern Arizona. Say it ain't Sona. And here we have the warm side. It's going to be warm in Florida. It always is. Now this is because the zonal versus the meridional flow. Now, a zonal flow can be described as more flat and straight across the country, but the meridional flow is described as more up and down. And this happens when there is a breakdown in the jet stream. In this case, the meridional flow has been persistent for years because we are in grand solar minimum sun. With a weakened sun and a weakening magnetosphere, these patterns are going to get more and more extreme with bigger and bigger dips as we move forward. Now, skiers rejoice as California's Sierra Nevada to get the first big snow ho-ho of the season. Shut up, Al. Get in your hole. He never learns. More snow is coming across the West. In fact, the system will pummel the West, according to that graphic. Now, severe storms, including the potential for nighttime tornadoes, eye the plains later this week. And this is when the peak of the meridional flow drops down into Texas and Oklahoma. And we'll have the models in just a minute. First, let's take a look at the 48-hour snowfall totals. Let's kick it up to 72. Who knew? Do we have any change? It's pretty strange. So for the last 72 hours, most of the snow has been constrained to the Pacific Northwest, with heavy snow totals a foot or more happening in northwestern Montana, 2 feet or more happening in areas northwestern Washington. We've had some snowpack moving all the way down towards Medford in the high mountains of Oregon, but just about 3 to 6 inches up in those regions. But we are waiting for a major system to make a major impact. As waterlogged wheat, rotting oranges, well, 5 crops are devastated by a year of grand solar minimum weather. So let's come over to the model and we can see heavy snow now falling in the Sierras. That's going to continue over the next few days while the snow moves across Idaho on Wednesday and drops down into Utah Wednesday night and into our region by Thursday morning. That snow is going to continue to coalesce around the Four Corners region through Friday, leaving heavy totals as that trough develops by the beginning of the weekend and that severe weather begins to break out here. It's looking like Nebraska and Oklahoma, as well as Arkansas and Missouri. That is the biggest chance right in the Texarkana or whatever you call that four-corner region there. It's boom time Saturday morning, so heads up. And let's take a look at some of these snow totals. Holy macaroni. Here's Wednesday through Thursday morning. Big totals all the way down the Sierra Crest, all the way down, approaching Southern California by Thursday morning. That snow is going to dip all the way into Arizona by Thursday and continue to pile up through Friday as the second system makes its way back down and brings potentially heavy, 4 to 6 feet of snow to the Sierras through mid-November. A November to remember. Mark my words. This is going to be a goodie. Contrast in weather patterns. A dramatic contrast in weather patterns will occur the rest of the week through the weekend in the West. Well below temperatures will be the main theme. Well below average temperatures. They just left a word out there. Will be the main theme, but heavy mountain snow and bouts of locally heavy rain will be common across the region. It is going to rain all the way into Southern California So heads up if you live where, well, the elites do. Meanwhile, east of the Rockies, warm and mild conditions with above average temperatures are likely. In between, expect some severe storms and heavy rain late in the week, especially that area we're warning about here, where Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Nebraska all come together. That is the biggest threat for severe storms, as well as all the way down to southern Oklahoma, southeastern Oklahoma, and so that could be a very bad situation lining up for Thursday. Seismic update, no quakes of note. Thank goodness. We did have a major quake at Blot Echo in Italy, but that's gone off the map. Worldwide volcano news update. Everything is puffing and passing to normal heights. Chivaluche to 12,000. We've got Reventador to 15,000. Popo to 22. Fuego to 15. Ebico to 7,000. And nothing spectacular. There has been an uptick in Erta Ale volcano, which is in Ethiopia, with intense activity in a southern pit crater, but this is negligible as far as global effects. And here we can see Popo puffing, and a nighttime glow indicate that there's magma nearby. Space weather news update. The disk and the spots are weakening and it's going blank, but we do have some activity turning over the limb that has produced a coronal mass ejection that shot away from the Earth yesterday. So there is an active region that could bring us some spiciness over the next few days, but overall the sun keeps dropping lower and lower. As we approach solar max, the sun is dead, essentially. Take a look at the geomagnetic field. Completely quiet. 3-day geomagnetic forecast, quiet. Now, we are waiting for this coronal hole within the next 48 hours to 72 hours is going to bring us some geomagnetic activity. So that won't be until Friday. And so that could potentially bring our KP up into the 4 and 5 region, not showing on the forecast. Heads up, here's the Discover solar wind. As we can see, all telemetry is going quiet. Solar wind speed for the last 3 days has gone from 600 now down to just above 400 kilometers per second. Temperatures dropping. Density is well below the 10 mark there in centimeters. So heads up, no space weather and all is quiet on the sun. Now, if you want to look up for some Halloween fireballs, you didn't miss it, even though Halloween is over. The Taurid meteor shower is set to light up the night sky for the next 14 days. And it can be seen anywhere in the world, not just the U.S., if you can see Taurus. Earth is passing through the Taurid shower that contains more than 100 million asteroids, may be responsible for the Younger Dryas catastrophe and many other bolide impacts on Earth, including the Hopewell airburst that we're going to do an expose on sometime this week, maybe even over on our radio show, Saturday Afternoon Revolution Radio. We're going to talk about the connection between the Serpent Mound and impact craters. It's completely mind-blowing. Now, more about the Halloween fireballs and the Taurids. The planet will witness the Taurid meteor shower starting now and lasting through November 13th. Fireballs could be visible starting now with the best views after midnight. And you want to look up near the Pleiades, straight above your head at midnight. The southern Taurids will peak November 4th through the 5th, and the north Taurids will peak the 12th through the 13th. And while all this is happening, we have a total lunar eclipse. You can't even make this up. And we do have the map. So if you're on the East Coast, you're kind of screwed because the moon is going to set during totality. If you're in the Midwest, let's say, or approaching the plains, the moon will be exiting totality and returning to partial phase before sunrise. It's going to be really early in the morning, so you may be able to catch it as you wake up, if you wake up early before the sun rises. Complete totality will be seen in this zone with the moon exiting partial phase before sunrise. So this is pretty awesome. It's right in the Four Corners region, and the complete lunar eclipse over the western third of the U.S. and half of Canada, all of Alaska, will be quite awesome. So heads up if you're in those regions. I think Alaska is going to be able to see it around midnight. For the West Coast here, it's going to be 3 a.m. Maybe it'll be more like 11 p.m. for them. But overall, really good viewing in the darkest shaded area of the map. So make a plan. If you've never seen a total lunar eclipse, put it on your tick list. Put it on your bucket list. Get out, look up, and do something worthwhile. Because I don't know if you didn't know, you can't take your stuff with you, and your experiences shape your life. So have some experiences. Now, shocking. 349-million-year-old shark forces scientists to rethink the timeline of evolution. And this blew my mind. For those of you that don't know, I am a trained paleontologist and stratigrapher. I used to teach it in graduate school at Temple University back in the 90s. And here we're looking at the geologic timescale. And we're going to go all the way back into the Paleozoic here in the Silurian, the unit that I worked on. Now, right here at the Silurian-Devonian boundary, 419.2 million years ago, between the Ludlovian and the Locavian was a mass extinction, which ended the age of grasses here in the Silurian and began the age of fishes in the Devonian. Some of the first grasses showing up on Earth here in the Silurian. Some of the first major predators also showing up in the seas of the Silurian. But bony fishes didn't explode until 419 million years ago. But in this paper, they have a bony fish, and its name is fantastic. It's Fanjingjing Shanaya. And this comes from the World Heritage Site, Fanjingshan. And this is a bizarre fish with an external body armor. And I believe they have the genus and species somewhere in here. But examinations of the Fanjing Shanaya by a team of researchers from the Chinese Academy of Sciences and Qinghai Normal University at the University of Birmingham revealed that the species is anatomically close to groups of extinct spiny sharks. This is an old shark, 439 million years old. Now let's go back to the geologic chart here, geologic timescale. 439 million years old is pushing it all the way back to almost the beginning of the Silurian. So sharks show up before almost all fishes, and that's amazing. In the Silurian. Now, the bony fishes start in the Devonian. The fishes we know don't start until a little later here in the Carboniferous. But we're pushing back complex life way back, 500 million years here. And sharks are still alive during the Landoverian in the Silurian. More specifically, they went extinct between the Aaronian and Telchian periods during the Silurian at 438.5 million years ago. And that would be the beginning of this shark right here on this boundary. Well, based on known fossils, it could be brought back even further and further, just like what's been happening for hominids and all other species. Just a fascinating story. Sharks are now 500 million years old, and that is a boom. Planet killer asteroid spotted hiding in the sun's glare. Another big boom that we couldn't see until recently. Well, in fact, there's a bunch of them. Astronomers have spotted 3 near-Earth asteroids that were lurking undetected within the glare of the sun. One of the asteroids is the largest potentially hazardous objects posing a risk to Earth to be discovered in the last 8 years. Well, that's really calming news now, isn't it? Now, the asteroids belong to the group found within the orbits of Earth and Venus, but they're incredibly difficult to observe because of the brightness of the sun shields them from telescope observations. And they may very well be large chunks left over from the Younger Dryas impact and from the Taurid meteor complex. Do you see how this all comes together? Nazca child ingested psychoactive cactus just before they cut its head off. Now, this happened over 4,000 years ago, potentially in Peru. A hair sample from an ancient trophy head found buried in Peru reveals that the victims consumed a psychoactive plant prior to death. And almost all of these people were tripping balls. Really creepy story. So all the links will be below from all the stories we cover, so go check them out if you're interested. Now, did Vikings find their way to a remote part of Oklahoma? Well, I believe they did. And some in a small community also believe so, thanks to controversial runic carvings found in the area. And you're looking at those runic carvings. Here's a picture from antiquity here. Gloria Farley first saw the Heavener runestone while hiking as a young girl in 1928. Here she is with her sons 40 plus years later at the same site. And I believe that she's a hero and that this proves that, well, the white European devil did not discover American. Well, maybe they did, and they were called the Vikings. In fact, Heavener Runestone Park is in the foothills of the Wichita Mountains in far east Oklahoma. And it is believed that these are dated to about 1000 CE. So 1,000 years ago, there were Vikings in Oklahoma. We may do a full expose on this over at Magnetic Reversal News. So if you're interested, get up to speed. Mind-blowing. On second thought, just throw the plastic away. This is coming from Greenpeace's website. Yesterday, 2 days ago. Can you believe this? Even Greenpeace now admits the obvious. Recycling is useless and a waste of all humans' time. While all the altruistic greenies and all the rest of you, however you identify, have been separating your trash and spending all that time and trouble with all these different receptacles, the majority of it gets thrown in a landfill. Period. In fact, the amount of recycled material over the last several years has been rapidly decreasing. In a new report from Greenpeace itself, plastic recycling is a dead-end street. Year after year, plastic recycling declines, even as plastic waste increases. This is because the process of recycling plastic is more toxic than plastic. It's a nightmare, just like the green energy shift that we're all experiencing. The green energy, the building of batteries, and all of the materials needed for this green revolution is 5 times more toxic than burning of fossil fuels. Period. There is no one that can debate me or anyone else otherwise on the topic. And in the end, if we make a full transfer to green energy, the entire planet will have been raped and mined of rare earth elements, toxifying all rivers and valleys and the soil forever and ever and ever. So whose planet are we saving? No one's. As U.S. diesel supplier warns businesses to prepare for shortages. Well, how about humans to prepare for no food in the supermarkets and extremely higher prices for consumers? If you didn't know, the entire world runs on diesel. Ships, trucks, the entire infrastructure is run on diesel, and there's less than 22 days in reserve. And at the same time, British Petroleum rakes in the largest quarterly profits ever posted, $8.2 billion, as the world is about to starve. Are you picking it up? We just put it down. Now, the Fed's disinformation fight is censorship. Pure and simple. The leaked documents have come out. This is the second day in a row we're reporting on it. I hope you get up to speed. Read the article below because we cannot discuss it. As the Fear and Greed Index leans towards greed today, hello, the world may be about to crumble. Well, thank God Facebook is crumbling. In fact, the Facebook monopoly is imploding before our very eyes because Mark Zuckerberg couldn't be more clueless. He has no idea about the pace of the nation. And his metaverse is a complete flop. It's estimated that less than 1,500 people in the entire world are using it. That sounds like a catastrophe ahead. What's not a catastrophe ahead is our new channel, Sacred Geography. And as soon as we hit 100 subscribers, our first episode will come out on the channel. So please go over and subscribe to Sacred Geography. If you want to know more about it, click the About tab there. And what you're going to find is a really good synopsis of what is going to be on the venue. Now, throughout the ages, many cultures have conceived of geographic space and expressed those conceptions in a variety of ways. One expression of these conceptions has been the establishment of sacred geographies. Now, a sacred geography may be broadly defined as the regional or even global geographic locating of sacred places, according to various mythological, symbolic, astrological, geodetical, or even shamanic factors. Now, the Aboriginals, the Celts, the Mayans, the Anasazi, the Egyptians, the Atlanteans, the Mu culture, and more. Most of the ancient cultures around the world, even Göbekli Tepe and other megalithic fantastical cultures, all knew about sacred geometry and celestial occurrences. But the history of this has been lost and or suppressed. And here on this channel that we're about to launch, we're going to reveal the hidden truths about what the sacred geography is telling us, one structure at a time. So just a fantastic project I'm really stoked to get involved with, and I hope you join us over there. And that's a boom to knowledge. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. I hope you got something out of the video. We work long and hard to produce these, so the least you could do is share this video and give it a thumbs up. Become a Patreon, support the work we do. We love you. Be safe.